They are positive integers, so there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, that's really all they are. And it just means the main energy level. So like I said, it's like, just think of it, kind of relate it back to that Bohr model of the atom. It's that first ring, second ring, third ring. Although now it's a much more complicated thing than just a ring. But the ring idea, the Bohr idea, kind of helps you kind of simplify it, I guess, a little bit. In each principal energy level, there are also sublevels. And there are as many sublevels as whatever the level number is. So in other words, if I am in level n equals 1, there is one sublevel. If I am in level n equals 2, I have two sublevels. And that's all it is. Principal energy level 7 would have 7 sublevels, although we don't fill more than 4. We never get that far in that, you know, in those atoms. We just don't have that many atoms on the periodic table yet. The total maximum number of electrons that you can have in your level is using this equation 2n squared. So if I'm talking about level 1, well, what's 2 times 1 squared? 1 squared is 1, times 2 is 2. So in the first level, I can only have 2 electrons. If I'm in the second level, it's 2 times principal level n, 2 squared. 2 squared is 4, so 2 times 4 is 8. Third level, 2 times 3 squared equals, 3 times 3 squared is 9, times 2, 18. So this tells me, and this is important, guys, write this down if you don't have this in your notes already, put this in your notes, to figure out how many electrons you can have in each level, you take 2n squared. Back in freshman science, you probably talked about, hey, in the first level, you can have 2 electrons, 8, 18, 32, so on. This is how you get that number. This is where this number comes from. It comes from taking the principal quantum number, squaring it, doubling it. That's how many electrons you can have in that level. Well, we were just talking about the different levels that there were, and I said, like in level 1, there's one sublevel. And they label the sublevels with letters. And there's no real, at least at the beginning here, there's no real organization to what these letters are. So the first level is S. Sublevel is S. So in energy level 1, so in n equals 1, you have sublevel S. And that can hold 2 electrons. Okay. In the second level, you have an S and a P sublevel. Okay, so we said, okay, so energy level 2, remember now 2 squared is 4 times 2 gives me, so I can have 8 electrons in this level. I could have 2 in this, remember? So I've got an S, well, that can hold 2 electrons. I have a P sublevel. P sublevel can hold 6 electrons. 2 and 6 are 8 that we had here. In the third level, we said, hey, you can have 18. Well, you've got S, P, and D. S can hold 2, P 6, and you can probably figure this out. D can hold 10. Now, there's no, it's fairly simple if you look at it. We're always adding 4, 2, 6, 10. So you can probably tell me in that next level how many can F have. If you add 4, it would have 14. So in this level, you got 2, you got 6, you got 10, you got 14. So altogether, you got your 32 that you're talking about. It's important that you know this stuff. You need to understand in the first level, how many sublevels are there? There's one. That sublevel is S. Then the next one is S and P in level 2. And 3, it's S, P, and D. 4, it's S, P, D, and F. Now, theoretically, in 5, it could be S, P, D, F, and then G. But once again, these levels in black here, we don't really have any electrons in. We don't have enough atoms on the periodic table to actually fill those up. So we never get that far. But theoretically, it could be there. And so in this level, you could theoretically have 50 electrons if you went to that G sublevel. So there could be a possible 5 sublevels in the 5th level, But once again, that'd be an atom that would have over 100 some electrons, and we don't have that one. We haven't discovered it or created it or whatever yet. Okay, so we've talked about sublevels, or we talked about level. Okay, so that's N. We talked about our sublevels. Okay, and now we're going to talk about orbitals. And orbitals are where the electrons are located, where they are, where the electrons are flying around at. Okay, and the number of orbitals is equal to the square of the principal quantum number. Okay, so let's see. N squared is what they're talking about. If we're in level 1, 1 squared means, hey, I got 1 orbital. Okay. If I'm in level 2, I have 4 orbitals. Alright, so let's see. Level 1 had a sublevel S. S, therefore, has 1 orbital. Level 2 had S and P. We know S has 1 orbital. We know there's a total of 4. So this has 1. Therefore, P has 3 sublevels. Now, I have kind of a way that I usually kind of try to help people out with this thing. Think about if, and we'll get into this a lot more in the next chapter, but let's say that we're talking about a hotel, because most of you can relate to that. Okay, if we're talking about a hotel, on the first floor, we've got the first floor. That's my N. N equals 1. And in that floor, I have 1 room, S. So we call this the S room. Okay, so this is S. And in that 1 room is 1 bed. We call that an orbital. Okay? And that can hold 2 electrons, by the way. So this bed can hold 2, just like a normal, queen size, king size bed you go to in a motel. Okay, so you're on the first floor, you're in the room, the super cheap room, okay, and you're in that 1 bed. If you're on the second floor, hey, you've got 2 rooms. Okay? Got 2 rooms. And 1 is the S room, 1 is the P room. Pretty nice. It's a pretty nice room. This room has 1 bed. This room it's a bigger room. It's got 3 beds. Beds are the orbitals. Okay? So, on the second floor of this hotel, there are 2 rooms, an S room and a P room. The S room has 1 bed, or 1 orbital. P room has 3 beds, or 3 orbitals, and each one can have 2 electrons in it. So you can see, hey look, 2 electrons, 1 squared, well, let me go back. Okay, if I'm talking about orbitals, we said it's 1 squared, that's 1 bed. Here I'm talking about orbitals, it's 2 squared, or 4. There's 4 beds. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So try to relate that to something a little easier and think of the N as the floor, sublevel as the room, and orbitals as the beds. Okay? So it's not very complicated if you put it down in those simple terms. Okay, so getting back, kind of reviewing. S sublevel, you got 1 orbital. In that S room, you got 1 bed. P sublevel, you got 3 orbitals. Okay, bigger room, 3 beds. D sublevel, 5 orbitals. Big room. Okay, 5 beds in this room. That's what they're talking about. 5 orbitals, 5 beds. Each bed holds 2 people. Each orbital holds 2 electrons. And in the F sublevel, 7 orbitals. Really big room. 7 beds. Okay? So, in that F sublevel, 7 orbitals. In the F room, 7 beds. 2 people in each bed, 2 electrons each orbital. Make sense? And of course, they don't look just always normal. They start out pretty normal, but then they don't get there. So we were talking about probability patterns. If we were plotting the points, and this, we all would kind of think, hey, it should look like a sphere. That makes perfect sense to me because that's what we've been shown. But we've been shown that because that's easiest. Okay, so if you're in that's the S. This is the S sublevel. Looks like that. Looks like a sphere. So if you're in that first floor, first level, you have a small sphere around the nucleus. Hey, if you're in the second level, that sphere is a little bit bigger, okay? But still sphere, that S sublevel in the second level. Remember, second level can have S and P. Well, what's P look like? P has these dumbbell-shaped things that you see here. A lot of times you see them and they kind of make them look like that, okay? It has these dumbbell-type shapes around here. And there's 3 of these. Remember we talked about in the P sublevel that there were 3 orbitals. These are the orbitals. This is what they look like. This is the probability pattern. In other words, we sat there plotting points where we knew the electron was till we got a shape. Okay? This is the D sublevel. And notice that they're starting to get kind of weird. We've got like kind of double dumbbell things. And then we got some weird thing right here. It looks like a dumbbell with a donut, And remember, all this stuff's going around one nucleus. So these kind of, you've got all of these things in there. You've got the S, you've got the P, you got the D. And then when you get to the F, they get really weird. These guys down here look pretty weird. 7 orbitals, 7 rooms, or 7 beds rather. 7 beds there, 7 orbitals. Each of these things, there's 2 electrons in there. There's 2 electrons there, or 2 electrons there. Each of these things that they're showing you can hold 2 electrons. Okay? If this stuff doesn't make sense, you need to ask questions about this because it's important. This chapter doesn't have a lot of problems. You're not going to be doing a lot of equations, but there's a lot of concepts that are new and unique, and you need to understand those. If you got some questions, these 2 videos, and these are in your book, these are links from your book, these show about the sublevels and stuff. So if you want to see like the S's and P's and kind of shows you the shapes a little bit and how they kind of fit together, at least one of those videos showed kind of how they fit together and stuff. Pretty good videos, not very long, 2-3 minutes, I think, that you can watch those and tell you a little bit more about it. And there you have it.